The world is not a playground, and life is not your friend. It is a cold, indifferent refinery. Most people, shuffling through subways, scrolling until their eyes glaze, are nothing more than biological fuel. They are the gears. Their purpose is to turn until they wear out, only to be replaced by a newer, cheaper model. They find safety in the crowd because the crowd is warm, loud, and safe. But you? You've noticed the silence growing. The walls are closing in. Your old friends now speak a language of mediocrity you no longer understand. Do not mistake this for tragedy. You are not being abandoned. You are being liquidated. Niccolò Machiavelli observed that the deceiver always finds those willing to be deceived. The masses allow themselves to be blinded by the comfort of the average. When the universe builds an architect, it begins by stripping away the scaffolding of the old life. Think of a surgical blade. Masterpieces aren't made by adding ornaments. They are made by heating metal until the impurities scream, then hammering it until only the densest, sharpest core remains. Before the scale, there is always the erasure. Your current isolation is the vacuum of sovereignty. The universe is clearing the floor. It cannot place a throne in a room filled with trash. While your neighbors drown in the warm bath of social validation, you are shoved into the ice-cold dark. They are being fed. You are being forged. They are the input. You are becoming the ghost in the machine. If your life feels like it's falling apart, it's because the user manual for a slave doesn't work for a king. Pressure isn't there to break you. It's to see if you are glass or diamond. Glass shatters under the weight of the crown. Diamonds hold the line. Welcome to the great filtration. Most will fail here. But you aren't most, are you? Stay sovereign. Trial 1. The muting of the herd. The first stage of the filtration isn't a loud explosion. It's a terrifying, suffocating silence. Look at your phone. Those groups' chats that used to ping every 30 seconds with mindless gossip, sports scores, and memes designed to numb the brain. They've gone quiet. The invitations to grab a drink or hang out are drying up. You feel like a ghost haunting your own social life. The average person views this as a tragedy. They panic. They feel the social death approaching, and they scramble to reconnect with the bottom feeders, desperate for the warm, humid breath of the crowd. They would rather be a slave in a noisy room than a king in a quiet one. But you need to understand the mechanics of the static. Most people are nothing more than biological radio interference. Their constant chatter, the "what did he say?" and the "did you see the news?" is a defensive mechanism. It is designed to keep the frequency of their mind so cluttered that they never have to hear the terrifying sound of their own potential. They huddle together like freezing cattle, trading their individuality for the communal heat of mediocrity. I remember the exact moment I crossed this threshold. I was sitting at a dinner table surrounded by successful professionals, listening to them argue about a celebrity scandal. I looked at their faces and realized I wasn't looking at humans. I was looking at NPCs reciting a script written by an algorithm they didn't own. I felt an overwhelming urge to leave, not out of anger, but out of a sudden, cold realization. You cannot build a skyscraper on a foundation of plastic. Arthur Schopenhauer once remarked that a man can be himself only so long as he is alone, and if he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom. The universe is muting your world because you cannot hear the blueprints of a billion-dollar system while someone is screaming about a football game in your ear. This is the isolation chamber. Life is removing the parasites of time from your circle to see if you have the psychological density to exist without constant validation from people you don't even respect. While the subjects are busy being loud and insignificant, you're being forced to become a silent hunter. They are terrified of the dark. You are learning to see in it. The silence is the first test of your sovereignty. If you can't survive a Friday night alone with your ambition, you will never survive the weight of a throne. Stay sovereign. Trial 2. The Deconstruction. Once the silence sets in, the second trial begins. The systemic purge. Most people build their lives like a house of cards, defining themselves by a job title, a toxic relationship, or the shallow approval of their circle. They are subjects, mere tenants in an external world they don't own. But when the universe decides to upgrade you to an architect, it doesn't just add a floor, it burns the entire building to the ground. I know that. Look in the mirror. The moment your perfect world shatters, the person you loved reveals their parasitic nature. The career you thought was stable vanishes like a ghost. You feel like a failure because you are comparing your rubble to the finished houses of the mediocre people around you. Stop. Look at those happy subjects. Their houses are beautiful, yes, but they are built on sand. They're fragile, decorative, and one small wind from the refinery will blow them into oblivion. You, on the other hand, are standing in the dirt because the universe is clearing the site for a skyscraper. You cannot pour a billion-dollar foundation on the floor of a shack. Niccolo Machiavelli wrote, "There is no other way to guard yourself against flattery than by making men understand that telling you the truth will not offend you. And the truth is this: your old self was a liability, the one who accepted good enough, the one who hid in shadows, the one who traded sovereignty for safety. That person had to be liquidated." Robert Greene notes that the phoenix must burn to emerge. This isn't bad luck. This is an architect's reset. Think of it like this. While your neighbors are decorating their wooden cages, you're being cast in steel. They are input, destined to be consumed by the system. You're becoming the ghost, the one who manipulates the machine. They find comfort in their stability. You find power in your volatility. The happy subjects have never faced a collapse. They are weak, untested, and soft. You have survived the fire. You have seen the bottom of the abyss and realized it has a solid floor. Your past year of loss wasn't a tragedy. It was a strategic withdrawal. Life stripped away the dependencies that made you a slave to average expectations. It forced you to stand alone so that when you finally grasp the lever of power, you aren't leaning on a broken crutch. The collapse is not the end of your story, it is the end of your weakness. Stay sovereign. Trial 3. Killing the permission seeker. The most lethal trial is the death of the permission seeker. From the moment you were born, you were trained to look for a nod. You looked to your parents for approval, your teachers for grades, your boss for a promotion, and your partner for validation. You were conditioned to believe that you need someone else's yes to move forward. When the universe initiates the sovereign shift, it cuts the wires. Every person you used to lean on for support suddenly disappears or becomes useless to you. You find yourself standing in the middle of a storm, reaching out for a hand to hold, only to find nothing but cold air. Most people interpret this as being unlucky or unloved. They spiral into depression because they cannot function without a master. They are like a ship with no engine, waiting for the wind of someone else's opinion to move them. They will die waiting for a sign that never comes. But the architect realizes that the silence of the crowd is actually a command. The fact that no one is helping you is the ultimate proof that you are the only one capable of doing it. This is the moment the ghost fully merges with the machine. You stop asking, "Am I allowed to build this?" and you start saying, "Who is going to stop me?" As the iron-willed Margaret Thatcher once said, "Being powerful is like being a lady. If you have to tell people you are, you aren't." Sovereignty isn't something you are given. It is something you seize. Life strips away your helpers because a true elite cannot have a safety net. a safety net is just another word for a leash. Only when you realize that no one is coming to save you, no mentor, no lucky break, no supportive friend, do you finally put your hands on the lever with the grip of a predator. You are no longer a subject of your circumstances. You are the commander of your destiny. The transition is complete. You have stopped looking for the door, and you have become the key. Welcome to the 1%. Stay sovereign. Trial 4. The diamond pressure. You've survived the silence. You've walked through the wreckage of your old life. But now, the very air around you begins to thicken. Welcome to the 4th and most brutal filtration. The pressure test. Most people, the average majority, spend their entire lives in the shallow waters of comfort. They are like cheap plastic cups. If you submerge them just 100 feet into the cold reality of the abyss, they would implode instantly. They are porous, soft, and fragile. They scream for work-life balance the moment the world asks them to be exceptional. They seek safe spaces because their internal structures are hollow. They are the input that the system chews up and spits out. But for the architect, the atmosphere is different. You feel it right now, don't you? That crushing weight in your chest, that suffocating uncertainty where every move feels like you're wading through lead. You look at the happy subjects on the surface, sunbathing in their mediocrity, and you feel behind. You feel like a failure because you are being squeezed by financial debt, social isolation, and the terrifying ticking of the clock. Stop looking at them with envy. Look at them with pity. They are staying soft because they aren't worth forging. The universe only applies this level of compression to materials it intends to turn into diamonds. This pressure isn't a sign that you're losing. It's a sign that your density is increasing. In the words of the iron-willed Napoleon Bonaparte, the first quality of a soldier is constancy in enduring fatigue and hardship. Courage is only the second. Courage is for the sprint. Constancy is for the crush. Think of it like a submarine diving into the dark. At a certain depth, the pressure is so immense that any microscopic leak will cut through steel like a laser. The universe is searching for your leaks. It is checking for any remaining slave logic or emotional frailty before it hands you the leverage of a king. If you crack now, you were never an architect. You were just a high-quality gear that mistook its ambition for destiny. I once saw a founder lose everything, his reputation, his capital, his team, in a single afternoon. He didn't flinch. He didn't vent on social media. He sat in the center of that hurricane and used the pressure to sharpen his next move. That is the cold, calculated heart of the new elite. The world is waiting for you to shatter so it can sweep you into the trash bin of history with the rest of the average. Don't give them the satisfaction. Hold the line. Let the pressure turn your heartbeat into the rhythmic strike of a hammer. You are becoming denser, colder, and infinitely more valuable. Stay sovereign. The pressure hasn't disappeared. It has simply become your internal atmosphere. Most people, the emotional subjects, view these trials as a punishment from a cruel universe. They weep, they beg for mercy, and eventually they crawl back to the safety of the average, forever haunted by the ghost of who they could have been. They are the unfit. They are the casualties of a filtration process that has no room for sentimentality. But you have reached the threshold. Crossing this line is like a pilot breaking the sound barrier. One moment, the cockpit is shaking, the engines are screaming, and the world feels like it's tearing apart. The next moment, absolute silence. You are moving faster than the noise of the world. You have become the one. I've watched individuals endure the silence and the collapse, only to stop inches from the threshold, because they mistook the final stretch of pain for failure. They didn't realize that the universe wasn't trying to break them. It was trying to see if there was anything left to break. Charles Darwin spoke of the survival of the fittest, but in the age of the architect, it is the survival of the mind. On this side of the threshold, you no longer look for opportunities. You look at the world and see blueprints, while the masses are still down there, grinding their lives away as gears in a machine they don't understand. You are looking at the control panel. The trials didn't change the world, they changed you. They stripped away the slave logic that made you crave comfort. Now, you crave leverage. You are no longer a part of the crowd. You are the one who designs the path the crowd walks on. You aren't lucky, you are qualified. The choice was always simple. Be the complaining casualty or the cold, calculated architect. You've made your choice. Now, it's time to claim the throne. Stay sovereign.